let's get started with the sharing. You should be able to see my screen, do you?
We can indeed.
Perfect. I'm just going to switch over Teams to my second screen, so just give me a second for this one, because it's always nice to also have a look onto the chat. So if there's anything at any time you would want us to answer in terms of questions, feel free. Second window is open for the chat. And yeah, as it already says here, let's Power Automate all your documents with dox42. So our session will be about document automation. We kind of had to choose if we want to be on the Canvas Day app or the model-driven app day. So we will do a little bit of both. So it will be a combination of Canvas apps and also model-driven apps, and how to output the documents from them. And most of this also documents that you can output generally from the Microsoft ecosystem. So, well, feel free to see some different scenarios all around the topics of document automation. The first thing that is, of course, probably what you're wondering. Also, my name is Johannes Linder. I'm the lead technical evangelist at dox42. Very much looking forward to today's session. And for a lot of cool live demos, it's always hard to be alone. So I brought my colleague with me, who's going to be an incredible presenter in terms of the Canvas app. Hi, David.
Thank you, Johannes. Hello, everyone. I am equally happy to be here today. I'm David. I am a developer for dox42. And yes, I'll be happy to show you what dox42 can do.
Right. Well, as we love the Power community, those of you who have seen us at some of the previous events, first of all, we love the Power community. So we hope to, again, soon be able to do something like this, where we get to meet Darth Vader, where we get to be on site. And there's one detail on all of these images that you should be able to see, which is sometimes from the dark side, sometimes more like from the Yeti Force. But overall, most importantly, a Lego. So you have the chance to win a Lego. All you need to do is scan this QR code. Within our session, you will be able to basically answer the questions you will see there. And in terms of the form, so generally of scanning, so please keep your phones ready somewhere, because we'd also like to keep this interactive. So as soon as you see those QR codes, put out your phones. We will also share the Microsoft Forms later on, where we will be able to also give you an overview of, for example, what technologies you're interested in. So I think this will also help you to kind of understand, well, what the audience expects, of course, and also which way in the live demos we will later on go. So for us, the live demos are the integral part, of course, of our session. And the more you tell us about what you like to see, the more we know. Yeah. And this one is for the quiz. You will see it also in the end in case you haven't been able to answer all the questions yet. What's the plan for today? Document automation is, of course, the very important one, but we will just cover our philosophy of why document automation is essential for business processes in Canvas apps, in model-driven apps, in Dynamic CE, in SharePoint, in Teams, and how we approach this. And the biggest part, as we said, live demo. So the first part, document generation in SharePoint, and then all around evolving a Canvas app. And the second part, where we're integrated into a dynamic CRM scenario with a model-driven app, with the dox42 model-driven app. Questions and answer is here, because you can ask at any time. So please feel free at any point to just put them in the chat. We have them open here. Just going to open this one. And yeah, that's pretty much the plan for today. Win the Star Wars Lego as Ras just posted in the chat. Good. One question that we have now to you, first one. Do you already know dox42? And what I will do is I will share a Microsoft Forms, which is going to show us the answers of this. So the QR code that you see on this very screen will then live show us the results. So feel free to just scan this one with your phones and put in some information here, because of course, the more we know, if you already know a lot, or if you're just new to the document automation part, the more we know how much we should spend on each of those different subjects in today's session. Just refresh this one. Right now we see there's responses coming in. Just once again, sharing the QR code. Right, we see the pizza slice of not knowing dox42 yet is becoming bigger. So we will kind of like get from the basics to also very advanced scenarios today. And that's one very important thing that we see here, that we should cover this. It's good that 5 people already know us from the Power community. It's so cool again to be here, because I think the quality we get, Ras, from your events is just brilliant. And it's a lot of know-how that we can get in very short time. Good. Thank you for your responses. I am a happy customer. Also happy for these ones. So why document automation? Well, right, there are some options that we already have out of the box on the Microsoft platform. And the challenge that we see at the moment is there is so many cool products that we have on the Microsoft platform. We could have CE, we have now model-driven apps that have the base of Dataverse as an option of the data. We have finance and operations. We have the whole CE marketing sales stack. We have Business Central, SharePoint, Teams, and of course also data sources that are not included in a Microsoft ecosystem. So for example, SAP, etc. And the challenge with document automation is that it's usually one option that is based on each application. And our approach is that you can integrate all the different data and call it from wherever you want. So basically what we will see today is we will call it from SharePoint. We will call it from the apps that we see from CE. So all of this covered. And at the end of the day, just have the documents as we expect them with a click, and then get PowerPoint presentations, get invoices, get, for example, emails in here. We also have a report down here where you also have visualizations. So documents can get very complex. And we offer a lot of design flexibility with our Office add-ins, so you can work with conditions, etc. The real business cases that we see a lot is, of course, there is 3 options. So the one, copy pasting, which works great, but especially since we're here at the Developer Bootcamp today, if the business cases tend to do copy pasting, you cannot integrate them into a Power App. So that's no option for any kind of app integration. The apps and the VBA, VSTO macros work really, really well. As I said, also in the apps, there's basic options that already get into the right direction. But as soon as it gets more complex, both in the document and in terms of the data, document creation is really, really painful still. And those of you who have worked with SQL Server reporting services, there's more the programmatic approach, which is great, but probably most of you, as from a developer perspective, it's the requirements that you get from the business to do in development is not that easy to do usually. So ideally, you have a process where you can integrate it into your apps, developments, codes. But at the same time, if there's requirements to those documents, the business users can just maintain them in their Office documents, which is kind of our approach. So to the end of the day, have these 3 people, for example, with more like from a development perspective, fully integrated into your app, into your code, into your application, but business and marketing, they can maintain the documents from Office documents. And that makes it just very easy and slim as a process. We are a product manufacturer. We have around 500 customers in all industries. So those of you who are familiar with any of those below, business processes require documents at some point. And one example that I'd like to point out on this one is, for example, EasyJet. This was a really, really cool process that also could be app-based. So what they had is based on working hours in a month, the users would provide them in an app. That app would then again have a list where all the employees would be listed with the data. And then the HR department could just click on send now, and each employee would get a contract with a digital signature that they could just sign. And within 3 or 4 days, all the documents were signed. So basically app process, but at the same time outputting a lot of documents with one click only. And before that, they did that manually. So just think about everybody printing the document, first of all, manually doing it, printing the document, and then as they print it, they need to sign it, they send it back. So it's a very painful process that could be based on an app. And I think that's why we're here today. So apps really make life a lot easier if done right. I won't do too much business processes, just to give you an idea of where it can go. For example, ABB uses dox42 for their sales and service platform. So they have giant ships, right? And if on those ships you do maintenance, you get to the ship, then you do some pictures, you provide some information. Again, could be based on an app. And that information gets into Dynamics CRM. And the report for the whole maintenance process or the whole maintenance is then outputted with dox42. So they get the images, they get all the text, all the legal stuff in it. And again, as I said, based on an Office document. Very similarly, this then grows in an organization. So it's not only that you do, for example, those sales and service platform documents, but you can do HR documents, etc. Technically, I think, and that's very important from a development perspective, that at the end of the day, it's data and it's conditions and it's images, it's base64 encoded values, it's whatever there is. And that's something we can work with in the documents. Good. A second example, energy and utilities. It's very similarly a lot of performance behind it. So also for the energy and utilities, as you see here, there are some examples. But as promised, not too much about customer cases today. I think we really want to see what dox42 can do or how it technically works. So that would be a very good thing for next to do.
I am muted. Thank you, Johannes. Let me take over and show you one level deeper how you can actually work with dox42 and how you can implement it so you can generate documents however you want for what scenario you want. All right, you should be able to see my screen. Probably hasn't changed a whole lot. It's the same slide. But yes, on the subject of document generation, we work with templates to generate our documents, and these templates can be designed out of Microsoft Office. You can design them in Word, Excel, or PowerPoint, and they can be edited and designed just like you would with any other Office document. You can see here a small example on the left side. You can see a template where there are some small blue fields with some text in it. Those are the data fields that you can drag and drop into your template out of a data source that you can also easily add. And on the right side, you can see the result when these data fields get replaced with data. And you can see that there is a lot possible. You can enter names, data, graphs, etc. So a lot is possible with these templates. And I mentioned these data sources already. You can get data from many different data sources from many different points. You can get user data from Dynamics 365, for example, from your CRM system, then get more detailed data from these users out of a database, maybe get some product information out of a SharePoint list, and add all of that into one template, and you can get one document with data from all of these sources. With all of these possibilities, I have another question for you, dear viewers and listeners, and that is, what technologies are you interested in? We are, of course, in the Power Apps event today, so of course Power Apps is of major interest, but since we have the option to implement many different technologies, what are the ones you are interested in? This again will change how and what we show in our live demonstration.
Great. Full the screen to share this one as well. And I'll also share the QR code once again. Automate, SharePoint, Teams, of course, Dynamics. Not so much ERP today, so no BC and FinOps. Signing, okay. SAP, not none looking for SAP. good. We are not today as well. Power Apps, Power Automate, and of course Dataverse. Yeah, I think we also see Dataverse picking up immensely, especially with, of course, well, we're in the model-driven day, right? So I'd expect Dataverse to go up, but also SharePoint and Teams. And I think that's also one thing that kind of proves the point that, as we will see today, we will start with the SharePoint app later on, but then go into the direction of the other apps. And I think the full integration into those different data sources and also triggering documents from those different data is one very, very important aspect.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for your answers, everyone. I will switch back to the presentation. Perfect. So yeah, we now have a good idea of what we can show for longer, more in depth. But for now, let's real quick talk about how can you access these data sources? Are they just magically appearing? Well, no, you can easily access them from the data map designer. So if you can see on the left window right here, the data map designer, and you have on the top a lot of selections of data sources that you can implement. On the left side, you have database data sources, Excel, SharePoint, XML, JSON, and you can just click on those, say from what file or from what SharePoint site you want to take data from, say OK, and then you can drag and drop these fields from those lists right into the template without much hassle. This, again, does not take any development, any programming. You have the option to, if you want to do some really, really complicated checks and filters, you have the option to do so, but any user can create a template with dox42 with ease. We will also show you this in the live demo. Of course, how these documents are actually generated is once you say, please generate my document, it will send this template to a dox42 server, which can be either on-prem or it can be our cloud version dox42 online. In either way, the request gets sent there. It's either a SOAP or REST request. And once that is handled, the generated document will be sent back in your choice. You can choose whatever output action you want to use and how you want this output to be handled. Of course, you can generate Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files. You can generate PDFs. You can also automatically or generate this document right into a SharePoint library and store it there. You can directly send it via Teams. You can directly send this document via mail and also apply this template that you've designed in an email body. You can send a DocuSign document so that it can be signed by your recipient. You can print it. It can be managed by Dropbox, develop. There are a lot of options as well. And again, there are possibilities to advance on those, develop more options, more output actions if you choose to do so. Of course, document automation is incredibly important when it comes to process automation. Whenever you are working with workflows and with processes and you want to really optimize those, documents are always a big factor. And this is why dox42 is also usable in Power Automate with the dox42 connector, or in Power Apps, as we will soon see. There are also some other workflow tools that have already implemented us, for example, Firestart and Nintex. Okay, that's enough about the theory on what could be possible with dox42. Let me show you that it is possible. We'll go over to the live demo, start out with just generating simple documents out of a SharePoint app, show you how templates are designed in general, and then we can go to Power Apps, how the Canvas app has an example of using dox42, and then later on, Johannes will show us some examples about model-driven apps and how dox42 is used there. So let me switch to our SharePoint list in question. This is what we're going to look at today. And first and foremost, we have our employee list right here. Now, these are 3 very loyal, very good employees. We would like to add another one to this list. Anyone in chat, please raise your, well, okay, I can't see you raise your hand, but please tell me your name and I can make you, for this presentation, a dox42 employee, and we can generate a dox42 dynamically with the data you gave us. So who wants to be, just for now, a dox42 employee? Who wants a dox42 contract created just out of the data you give us? All righty, we have a name. Thank you, Natalia Toledo. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Let me take that and add it as a name. You may choose to give us your email address. This will dynamically also send you a mail with the documents we generate. Sorry, that was a first name. James Bond is a good
like
one,
that
though.
James Bond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, James.
Natalia, you can choose to give us your email. You don't have to. It is your choice, but you will then get the document generated to your inbox. Thank you. I will take that. For the phone number, we won't need real data for that. Yes, apologies.
There was a question about the processing and if it's on the cloud or if it's on premise. And Samia, the simple answer is you can have both.
Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. But
no, that is
on the question.
That is a perfectly valid question. Alrighty, the third selection, we can make our new employee Natalia either a developer, a sales manager, or a trainee. What should she be? I will take the first answer. You don't have to send any more emails or names. Thank you. We've taken the first one. You can try so in the next event if there's one. Alrighty, Natalia wants to be a developer. Perfect. For the special agreement, you can also add any message that you would want. You can also style it in any way, as this is in a rich text field, which can also be implemented to the document we'll generate. So if you would want any extra agreements, if you want free cookies in the afternoon, or if you want a car, you can ask for anything. Just give us a question or give us an idea. We will add that to the contract. We can also ask for an autograph from James Bond, if that should be part of the agreement.
Autograph. I think that is.
Okay, I think that is a yes to the autograph from James Bond. So let's take that. Let's do free autograph from.
And we could add a car ride with the James Bond car.
Plus free car ride with the James Bond car. There you go. Perfect. Let's style that. Let's make it green because we are environmentally friendly in this household. Okay, let's take a darker green actually. Yeah, that looks good. And let's save that. For the salary, well, a developer should have a decent salary, I think. So let's take a lucky number, 7777, also relevant for Mr. 007 in our special agreements. Let us save that. Boom. We have now generated a new employee. Perfect. What happened in the background right here is there is actually already Power Automate flow that has been triggered. First of all, it sent an email to both Natalia with the email contract that is generated, and also it's stored it on SharePoint right here. If we take a look at our target library, we can see, wait, maybe I was thinking of a different flow, or it may take a while. Neither the case, we can also generate this document directly through the SharePoint app. So we have a selection of what is possible on how we want this employee contract to be handled. We can save it as a PDF or send it via mail, send it also via DocuSign if we want it to be signed. Let's just open it right here as a PDF as an example.
Perfect. Everyone who is having the chat open, Natalia or Natalia? Well, Both is fine. She just posted in the chat the email she's received, just to show you that it's actually.
Oh, thank you, Natalia. Perfect. So yeah, that is proof that it has sent the mail. Let us show you the contents of that mail. This is the attachment that it sent, and that is the employment contract for Natalia Toledo, as we just defined in the SharePoint list. Here are confidentials for Natalia, her details, a QR code, which is based on her email that she sent us. We just chose that as a type to show in the document. Very pleased to confirm your appointment as developer. Perfect. Your salary seems about right, 7777. And if you scroll a bit down here, we can also see the special agreement in all its green glory as a rich text field added into the document as well. Finally, this final page right here is a note that only developers get. So this whole page is dynamically generated because we chose the path as a developer for Natalia. Great. By now, let's take a look at our SharePoint list. If we take a look at the library, seems like it hasn't arrived in the SharePoint library yet. Maybe it takes a while. Nevertheless, the email has been sent, so we can take a look at that. Not only Natalia has sent this or received this mail, in the CC, we've also added Michaela Mitarbeiter, so we can show this mail ourselves, and we can see what Natalia received. A mail, which is also, as I said before, its own dox42 template, which was used as an email body, along with Selena and her signature. And if we take a look at the generated contract, yes, I would like to open the attachment. We can see the same document being linked in this email as well.
There is one question we have. Rather, this is also able with Power Apps and Power Automate and HTML. We will show that in a second. And also, if you have a look into the All Contracts library, David, I think you should be able to see a document there. Yeah, perfect.
There you go. I was looking at the wrong library. Thank you, Johannes. So if we take a look in here, so yes, it also has been stored in SharePoint automatically by just adding a new employee to the list. Thank you. Perfect. All righty. Since we have shown that, yes, generation is indeed possible through SharePoint, let's take a quick look at how the template itself looks, how you can make a dox42 template. For that, I go to this SharePoint library right here, and this is the document we are going to work with. In fact, let's open it in Word itself. Yes, you can see the document we just saw, just with slight differences. As I shown in the slide, the template uses these blue fields to implement field or data fields from data sources. If I go to this dox42 tab right here and click on Insert Data Fields, you can see that we have all these fields from this candidate data source added into our contract, and this will be replaced with data when we generate it. So let's generate it out of Word itself. We can also see the new employee, Natalia, right in the Word add-in as well. If we press on Generate, we can see the same document generated out of Word. If I now go to View, this is something I haven't done yet. Oh, it works. If we do side by side, we can now see the generated document on the left and the template itself on the right, and we can see what exactly replaced what. Oh, the scrolling is a bit weird. Let's try that again. Microsoft Spaghetti, as everyone knows, that is always a feature. Well, let me just
maybe
do
one
this
info in the
manually then.
meantime. So if those of you who want to enter the quiz, there is a link. There's no need to put the email addresses and the names in the chat anymore. So they don't have anything to do with the quiz. So thank you.
All righty, let's try it again. Yeah, now it seems good. Okay, so we can see at the first page, of course, Natalia's name has been added with this title data field. If you scroll a bit down, confidential for, again, the same data field being added, but also being styled as the text on the left. You can also see that this email field right here, the content should be an email, but it was actually formatted to an QR code because we wanted some field to be formatted to a QR code. The contents of the position has been added correctly, the salary as well. And if we scroll all the way down, also the special agreement with a condition if it is available or not. And also the final page you can see is just one field, which is actually a whole Word document that is being dynamically inserted depending on what position you choose, what position you choose in the list. It's been a long day. Okay, perfect.
Is it Friday already?
It might be Friday already. If we now take a closer look at this data field specifically, we can see on the bottom right, we can change the type of certain data fields. This is how we made one thing on the above page here into our QR code. We just set the type to a barcode, set the dimension, and set the symbology to QR. You can do that with any field and display it in any case you want. This is just string. This is a number with formatting, so it is always shown in the way we want it to. Also relevant for invoices and in general, a lot of number handling. And the final data field here is of type Word doc, which has its own URL, and that generates a whole document after the document. Now, where do these data fields come from? Well, if we take a look at the data map itself, I've already shown this in the slides, but you can easily add any of these data sources. We have Excel, SharePoint, Word data sources that we can add and get data from. On the right side here, we also have some custom data sources that I have installed that we also deliver if you want to. So we have a Swiss QR code generator. If you are familiar with banks in Switzerland, they use a certain QR code that we can generate and create via data we implement. We have Dynamics 365 FO data sources where we can get data from. We have Dynamics CRM / Dataverse that we can get data from SAP. And I haven't even installed all of them. And again, if you want to create data sources yourself, you can do so with just a tiny bit of development. So it is very easy to expand on these. And yeah, once you actually choose to add one, let's just pick a SharePoint data source as an example. You can see that it is very configurable. We can change the name, which site we want to get the data from. And then if we press on test, we can see what data we actually get from what list. And then these are also the fields that we can implement on the right side here with drag and drop right into our template. Anything you want to add, Johannes? Have I forgotten anything?
Looks. Not that I know that. Phil asked the question about BC. Yes, of course, BC also is integratable.
Yes. One of the data sources that I have not installed is BC, funnily enough. But yeah, so this was a quick look in how these templates look for dox42. Let's now go to the main topic of this event, Power Apps. How does Power App use dox42? For that, let's take a quick look first to our Canvas app. So I have right here one example of a Canvas app. I apologize that my environment is German, but I will be able to show you. In any case, this is one very simple Power App that is, as I said, a Canvas app. And we can see that the same list of customers has been implemented in here as well. It reads out of the SharePoint list what employees there are and from which ones we want to generate documents from. Here is also Natalia right here. So her data is also in here as well. Let us change some data in here so that we can see it as possible. It seems that Natalia has been very good. In fact, she's been Employee of the Month every single month since she joined. So let's increase her salary up to, let's say, 9,999. That sounds about right. Yeah. Alrighty, let's save that. Again, this also automatically send with Power Automate a flow. So the new employee contract, since we changed data, will be sent automatically to the employee. And we can also generate this contract with the button we have down below, which will store it to SharePoint, to the same SharePoint list that we've seen before, to the same library that we've seen before. So if we take a quick look back, this time I know which library I have to look at. We can see that, maybe I need to refresh. Yes, a few seconds ago, I have triggered the contract for Natalia Tolero to be generated again out of Power Apps this time. And you can see it is the same employee contract, but with the modified salary. The mail has been sent as well, if we take a look. Again, with probably the modified salary right here. Now, how does this Canvas app work? It is a very simple app. When Teams allows me to show. There you go. So if we go on edit for this app, we can see behind the curtain and see how it is created. Of course, Canvas apps having the benefit that they are very easy to set up and very flexible. This also makes creating dox42 documents out of those very, very nice and easy. So this is our simple Canvas app. If we take a look here at the page where we generate data out of, we can go to this button and go to Actions and see what actually triggers the whole flow behind it. Power Automate, the button is connected to a flow. If we go to this flow, we can see that, okay, I need to connect real quick with my account so it actually shows things correctly. Yes, we see as a trigger, we have implemented Power Apps. That is just the button being pressed. Then it connects to the SharePoint list that has all the employee data. It loops through that data and checks if one of these entries in the list coincides with the one we want to check or we want to print in this case. Microsoft asks for your feedback. Not now, Microsoft, please. But yeah, if that condition is correctly and it sees that, yes, in fact, the one you want to generate employee contract for does exist, then for that employee, please generate us our document. This is how the dox42 connector looks in Power Automate, and most or the developers of you will probably realize that these are just fields that get added to a REST call or to a SOAP call, both as possible. We will see that in its full text glory when we go to Johannes his example in CRM. However, these are just fields that we get from SharePoint. Adding all those, this is what in Power Automate is used to generate these documents. Now, this cool app is really cool. Wouldn't it be cooler if it would be accessible from your phone? I think, Johannes, you might be able to show that pretty good.
I will at least try really, 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 really bad. Okay, let me just connect my phone. And as you will now be able to see, this is live. I'm just going to switch again. We're here.
Well,
so,
sorry.
Did you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Right. So just to prove to you, this is actual data. So this is forget. Hi, everyone, again. And what I want you to show is the Power App, of course. And as you see here, this is very much on my phone. And again, here I could do the very same thing it hasn't updated yet on my phone, but that's not due to dox42, but you probably know who. Let's just do a refresh on this. So then yeah, there we are. And I can, of course, again, change anything, generate again, do whatever I want, similar to what we've seen. But let's not do it again. And then here's the generate employee contract button that I can just click on my phone. So very same thing. And let's say I'm somewhere, or like from the usability, want to have it on my phone rather than on Teams or whatever. This would be the way to go. Good. We promised you also model-driven options. And the way we integrate, for example, just the chat so I can see question. Yes, thank you for the 2 questions. Costs, just feel free to reach out to us. We can cover those based on your scenario. What I'd like to show you next is an example where we are within Dynamics CRM. So there is, if you enable the dox42 model-driven app in CE, you will get this pop-up, and you will have similar approaches to, for example, generating a document in here. The difference to what we've seen previously with David was that this is now based on Dynamics CRM data. And if I generate it from here, in terms of security, because this has also been a question, everything that we do is around Azure Active Directory. So there is no additional security layer to dox42. And each call that we do will require either an ID token or an access token for the service to even interact with any of your data. And of course, as soon as this is processed, dox42 deletes all data, first of all, and is at no point able to access anything because we require the token that is going to be the trigger from your service. Same for Power Apps. So this one is a little more complex document. The difference from what we've seen previously is especially that, for example, let's have a look into the summary here. There are products, there are tables, and those, if we want to open them in Word, you'll see, again, similar to what we've seen previously. So there's the header information. This is a Word document that gets integrated. This is the table with a repetition. So similar to the automated range that we covered previously, you can do this in tables and it would then get repeated. If we still have a little bit of time, I would also show you the template to this in a second. This is an Excel that is stored in a SharePoint library for the process because the business user requires it. This is a PowerPoint presentation, and there is an advertisement that we could, for example, maintain in Microsoft Teams because it's based on SharePoint. Good. So much for that. Now, where does the model-driven app come into place on this one? Let's have a look into Power Apps. There's where we all see our Sales Hub, where we are just in, but there's the dox42 app. And the dox42 app has similar to what we've already seen, a web service that is in the background, and that could be either on-prem or in the cloud, which is, for example, then here the connection to the one we're currently using is this one. There's a dox42 demo. It links to an app ID, it links to a tenant ID, it does all the security requirements based on this. Then the rest is then maintained in the app registration. We won't cover this today because it would just exceed our session time. But security-wise, Azure Active Directory. Template configuration, let's pick one that we just did. So the Word one we've just done was, here we are, sales quote Word. So basically the configuration of this very data is the one that is responsible for the output of our document and also, for example, the naming of it. So let's do a very simple thing. Let's switch from the Word output to a PDF output and also rename the dropdown that we did. One thing that we usually use for generally the web service configuration and the first level of working with the web service is what we call the dox42 server designer. And if we just pull this over. So that would be one example. So for example, there's our service configuration. There is the template where we've stored it, for example, in SharePoint. There is Azure Active Directory login. There is input parameters, which was usually the question that you get. For example, where Natalia selected you in the employee contract. that was the input parameter. So where of course, in a technical way, we work with values, IDs, GUIDs. And there would be output options like the SharePoint, the email, the return, whatever you want to configure here. And if we have a look onto this REST button up here, for example, we can also get our REST URLs and the query strings for this. Now, let's probably have a look into this one. This is a rather complex one. Let's take the easiest. This would be the call below. If we just want to output a document as a PDF, all we need is a return action that is a PDF. And if we want to see the query string up here, this is the very thing we'd need on the additional query string. So if we just take this one for the moment, and let me copy it to Notepad++. So similar to what we've just seen, right? What we see here, now we're getting a little more technical, as you can tell. What we want to do is, instead of having this one that I've just pasted where it says docx with a name for that is coming from a dox42 variable. So the blue fields, the data that David has shown earlier, we can also use in the output. And instead, what we'd like to do is we rename this document. Again, if somebody could just paste anything dynamically. So like, how do you want this document to be called? Looking into the chat.
Yes, it could be anything again.
Just any word. Could be your name, could be
could
be your cars, your favorite car brand.
If you want the James Bond theme to be going, then it can also be James Bond theme, that file name.
License.
License to kill is great.
License to generate.
That also works.
BMW, Argentina, all great examples. I hope license to generate James Bond included. And of course, we could do this with dynamic values here as well. And what this will do is, if we just copy this one to the return action here, let's just double check if there are no spaces. That should be all right. Sales quote, James Bond special. I think in the meantime, it also almost looks like the James Bond thing was scripted, but trust us, this is 100% what we just made up in this session. Sales special hour. Save. And going back, like basically the principle of our model-driven app is that the pop-up will just take whatever we have here in CRM, or also if you need something from Dataverse, and if we go to our pop-up again, should then show the sales quote, of course, with the special for the Power Community. And if we output the document, the file name that we will receive should have this information and is dynamically switched from the output of a Word document to a PDF document. We have 9 minutes left. License to generate. There we are. License to generate James Bond solar panels. Remember, this was dynamically, and also Adventure Co, because this is Adventure Co, and solar panels is also here again. And this way, we just switched this as an output from the Word to the PDF very easily. And let's just also do it backwards, because it's always nice to show it the one way, but also to show the other way. So let me just go back to template configuration. And in here, what I want to do is this one. And up here, what I'd like to do is, again, the sales quote from Word. Paste this one, save it. And one more final test. Go to the quote, do the pop-up again. And there we again have the sales quote once again for Word, like we did. Generate, hoping that I didn't copy any of those values. And as I said, like today I did this from Notepad. Usually, if you prepare this from the very beginning, you do this in the dox42 server designer. So this really helps you get going And for example, if you want to do the call from Postman at the beginning, so kind of like being independent from all the apps that we provide, you can of course do that as well. In the meantime, we got again the Word document, perfect. And yeah, it's hopefully as we expect it to be, with of course the outputs in here, similar to what we've previously seen also in the call from David, with all of these down below. And one thing we also didn't show you yet is the integration in the flows, for example, with the CE combination. So that was the Power App. David has shown us the flow in the Power App. There is, for example, the employee contract via mail is the one that automatically sent the email to you, Natalia. And there is, where we are, the sales quote. For example, this one would then be a flow in combination with CRM. For example, when a record is updated, so this, of course, as you see the call, like this, the trigger is deprecated, but the service call is in here. And that's, again, the query string, this one a little more complex. But again, in here, of course, you can also work with variables of any SharePoint library or anything that you're connected to. All right, so much for the excursion to a little more technical background. I hope we were able to show you that this works both in combination with model-driven apps, with Canvas apps, but also with our SharePoint app, with basically anywhere where you call dox42, either on-prem or in the cloud. And if I think the one wish that I'd have, if I want you to take this as a key, like have a key takeaway from today. So kind of dox42 is one service that is able to generate documents from many, many different data sources and also output into many, many different outputs. And there is one competitors of ours that you mentioned previously. And I think the biggest benefit of dox42 is just the whole integration into the Microsoft ecosystem rather than being one in each of the different applications. All right, I think let's just have a look into what we planned. David, is there anything I should add?
No, that seems good. I think the biggest takeaway I would mention is, since there are a lot of developers in here listening to us, there is a lot possible with calls just being basically REST calls put together. And therefore, you can really dynamically change your scenario by just configuring these REST calls the way you want to and from the apps you want from. And that allows for a lot of possibilities, not only from the things we've shown today, but if you are creative enough and have the development knowledge, you can extend this to areas and levels we can't even comprehend. It has a lot of flexibility, and that power is something to be mentioned.
The power in the power community. All right, yeah, just put them out there. If there are any more questions that you want to answer us directly, again, the chat, of course, is open on my second screen.
Yes.
Aaron, if you want to answer the connector, just reach out to us. I will probably, that's one good thing. If you have any questions that we should answer, there is the dox42 website, there is the contact page. And here you have either you can request free keys, book a demo, request quote or pricing. So if you want to know the pricing for your scenario, please provide some information, like in the number of users that you would like to have, what technology scenario you would like to integrate. We'll post this in the chat.
Mm-hmm. And also by filling out our Lego form, which you, by the way, should, because you can get a free Lego and it's really cool. You can also at the end choose if you want news updates. If you want a free trial, we can send that free key to you. In fact, that is also dynamically added, I think. And in general, if you want to contact us, this quiz is also one minor way of doing it. However, of course, the most efficient one is contacting us directly.
All right, looking at time, we have 3 minutes left. Probably this is a good screen to keep on.
Yes.
And yeah, once again, thanks for basically also be participating in our session. I think it's always very important to kind of like also deliver the value that you expect from us. And the more we know about you, the better, of course. So that has been very, very helpful. Thank you for participating. And I'm wondering if Darth Vader is still in the call. Or how they call him, Ras.
Hello, thank you once again. So exciting. I'm sure there's going to be a winner announced soon. I think we've already got some winners already for the Power Apps Cookbook. So I think we'll be announcing them today and tomorrow. So Natalia is one of the winners of the Power Apps Cookbook already. So congratulations, Natalia Toledo. Okay, so so once again, thank you, dox42, for supporting the event, as well as showing always building great features for the Power Platform, really, in enhancing Power Platform capabilities. So really, really great work that you guys are doing, to be honest. Really are. I have to say, you've got a great development team that are creating some really good native solutions. I wasn't aware that you had a Canvas app connected, to be honest. So that's really good. So once again, huge big kudos and thanks to the dox42 team. Last chance to scan that barcode and enter for the Star Wars Lego, which is obviously one of the best things you can have right now is a Star Wars Lego. Yeah, okay. Well, thank you, Johan, and thank you, David. Always a great pleasure.
Same for us. Thank you again, Ras, for having us. We wish everybody a very, very cool day. A lot of cool content again, and hopefully see you soon.